Hi everyone, and welcome back for the next episode in our Saving Christmas How to Make It, basically. So over Christmas time I released a game, a very short game nonetheless, but a little game that I made in roughly a week or so, and here is the tutorial of how I actually made it. In this part we're taking a look at how we can make the enemies react to our snowballs and make them play their animations and so on and so forth. So let's get started, shall we? So we've got the snowball actor, and we've got a variety of goblin actors already placed into our world. And on our snowball, we already set it up so that when it hits something, it's going to apply damage to whatever it hits. Okay, that allows us to do various reactions based on damage. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it so when it hits an enemy pawn, that it's going to tell the enemy pawn to react. So I'm going to go into my characters folder, and I'm going to open up my Goblin actor, and in there I'm going to add in the event any damage. So when the snowball hits it, because it's applying damage, this event will trigger. And quite simply, we're doing a one hit, one kill. We're going to tell it to play an animation. So I'm going to drag my mesh out, and I'm going to tell that mesh to play animation. And then it's going to play, it's going to be Goblin Death. But that's not all it's going to do. When it's done that, it's also going to do several other things. First of all, it's going to tell the AI of it that it's dead. Okay, so we can tell the AI to disconnect it and not do any more. We're also going to change its collision so that it's no longer collidable, and I think that'll do. So make the AI stop. We're going to do that just before we play the animation. Do it just here. We're going to get the AI controller, and this requires a controlled actor, so just doing a self for that. Now, because it's an AI controller, that means we can get hold of its brain component, and the brain component is the thing that's handling all the behavior tree stuff. So what we can do with that brain component is set to stop logic, and if you want to give it a reason, you can give it a reason just by typing in something here, so that we can go enemy is killed. Okay, and after we've done the play animation, I'm going to tell the capsule component, I'm going to tell it to turn off its collision. So I'm going to drag in the capsule component, and we can go set collision. I'm going to turn set collision to no collision, and hit compile. So the trick now is to get the snowball actually interacting and colliding with the enemy. Now currently it has to go through pawns, otherwise it will never leave Santa. Santa's a pawn as well. So what we're going to do is actually create our own object channel. So I'm going to go into Edit, Project Settings, and I'm just going to search for Channel. And you should see in there Object Channels, which is here. And I'm going to click on New Object Channel, and I'm going to name this one Enemy Pawn. And default response is block. Choose accept, and we can close our settings. So on my Goblin, I need to tell this thing that it's now an enemy pawn object. So we're going to go into the capsule component on the right hand side, details panel, find where it says collision, and change the collision preset to custom. We can then change the object type from pawn to enemy pawn. Click compile, and to double check, we're going to go back to our snowball and click on this sphere, collision, and you should see enemy pawn now in that list down here. If you can't see this, just expand open the collision presets. But because we chose the default thing to be block, any pawn should block. So now when I hit play and I hit an enemy with a snowball, it will knock them out. And they'll stop chasing me, and they're just lying in snow, like so. And we can test it out with multiple goblins that we have over here. Got that one there, down. Knock them out. Oh. There we go. Cool. So we now got the enemy reacting to damage. So now we've got the Goblin reacting to snowball hits. Let's make it so that Santa will react to Goblin hits. So we'll first of all go into Santa and add a new variable for his health. This will be an integer because we're using a heart-based system rather than a health bar. I'm going to hit compile and change the default value for health to 3. So we start off with 3 hearts essentially. On this Santa, we're going to right click and go any damage. So whenever Santa receives any kind of damage whatsoever, we're going to tell him to take his health and decrement it by 1 every time. We hit compile and we'll come back to that later. Next I'm going to go to the Goblin. So the Goblin at the moment hasn't got anything else, just it's the any damage event which is done. So we're going to go right click and do a hit event. Now because our Goblin has a physics capsule on it, so you can't walk through him, you hit it and it stops you, it blocks you, it will use a hit event. If you've got an enemy that's going to overlap you, then use an overlap event. So on the hit, we're going to check whether or not other is equal to the player character. So if it is the player character, this is all going to go into a branch and come out of true. Once it's done that, we're going to go into a do once. The reason why we're using a do once is because we don't want it to keep adding hits to the player. We want a little cooldown on its hits. So on the do once here, we're going to do after completed, apply damage. Now the damaged actor is going to be the other. So drag the other pin out to damaged actor. The base damage we're going to do is 1. And the damage causer is going to be itself. Now for the cooldown, what we're going to do is on this reset of the do once, we're going to come out of there and do a custom event and call it cooldown. Then after the applied damage, we're going to delay it by 2 seconds. And then just call that cooldown event, allowing it to go through the hit motions again. Hit compile, and let's go back to our Santa. After any damage is taken away health, we're just going to do a simple print string for now to test if this is working. I'll plug in my health, so it should print out a string of how much health that Santa has left. So I get hit by the Goblin, I have 2 hearts, 1 heart, and then 0 heart. So the damage it's dealing is working. However, I want my Santa to react in some sort of way. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a knockback. So the damage causer is what we plugged in the self into the Goblin. And so the Goblin will come through this damage causer pin. We can use that and we're going to do a little knockback on the Santa. So to do a knockback, it's simply just launch character. But where you're going to launch the character is up to you, or more importantly, up to the Goblin. So we're going to take the damage causer, in this case the Goblin, and get their location. Or get their direction, sorry. By getting the forward vector. So there's the way it is facing. Now if I want to get the opposite way it's facing, so no, I don't want to do the opposite way it's facing. I want to use the actual way it's facing. Sorry, my bad. So we're going to take the forward vector here, and this is a direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that by another vector. And this is going to be the direction, like the offset we do to it. So I'm going to plug that into my launch velocity there. And the knockback I'm going to do in the X, which is its forward momentum, we're going to be doing it, let's say, I don't know, 100. And in the Z, we're going to do 100 as well. So it goes up in the air a little bit. And I'm going to tick the overrides on both X, Y, and the Z. So the knockback will work every time. So we've got a little bit of knockback, but not much. So let's give it a bit more push. So let's change the Z to 400. Let's go extreme with it. Let's see what that does. Apologies for that. I've realised the solution. Because we're multiplying it and the forward vector is going to be 0 pretty much across the board in the Z. So the Z value doesn't really do anything. We can cancel that out. So X is still working, but what we need to do on here is then add another vector onto it. And this is where we add the Z vector. So here I can do something like 500, for example. Hit compile and play it. And we should see, okay, a little knockback. Yeah. We can give it a bit more welly if we like. We can go in here. And I'm going to give the 500 in the Y as well. And there you go. So you get a little knockback. There you go. And that's it for damage. So we've got the Santa to be able to deal damage to the goblins, and we've got the goblins able to deal damage to the Santa. And what we'll do in the next episode is we'll start looking about how we can code the level blueprint to add in our conditions to create presents in the world. So for example, we're going to make it so we've got 3 presents in the world to collect. So the first one is already in the world and it's hopping around over here. And next we're going to make it so that when all the goblins over in this area over here are killed, or knocked out rather, it's going to spawn a present in its place. And we're using a level blueprint to do that. If you want to watch that next part right now, you can head over to patreon.com and just support me for just $1 to get access to that next video right now. Thank you to all my supporters so far, and thank you to everyone supporting me throughout all of 2019. And here's looking forward to 2020 and seeing all the cool stuff we've got planned for you. So thanks again for your support, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.